Hello, you're watching Dukascopy TV. Now, if you're interested in the latest FATCA regulations, don't switch off now because I have a man in the studio who's going to give us an update and tell us all about FATCA and where we are right now. Alexandre Favre, manager at Chapuis Alder and C in Geneva. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
As I understand it, FATCA, or the Foreign Account Tax Compliance, is settling in a bit. It's settling in a bit better now with companies, but it's not kind of smooth runnings for everyone, is it? There are still a few problems here and there. Some funds are still finding it a bit of a maze, aren't they?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think we just have to step back one little bit because in Switzerland, it changed completely. Before there was a whole concept of recalcitrance, of accounts being recalcitrant if they had U.S. indicia and they wouldn't comply with the FATCA regulation. And this whole knowledge about recalcitrance actually dropped. And today we have something called non-consenting accounts. Mm-hmm. So that's already a big change in the legislation and the way Switzerland is implementing this. So obviously that's like the big main difference that we had. And obviously funds today that are not directly involved with this recalcitrance and non-consenting, but definitely they'll have to choose FFI, which is the Foreign Financial Institution status in terms of FATCA. And they also have to implement the whole withholding aspect of FATCA with the US source income and eventually pass-through payments. So this is also, definitely a big maze, and funds and different sub-funds and funds of funds are tackling this at the moment. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned US source income, and that's something actually I wanted to look at now. Are you being asked a lot of questions by your clients in relation to the US source income?
Originally in Switzerland, the US government, while they signed the IGA agreement, all the banks and everybody had to implement withholding. So obviously, then you're talking about your US source income, your US securities, all of this is impacted. And when things started changing, actually, Swiss banks kind of argued saying, well, hang on a second, if we have to do this and if we have to report these clients to the US with the non-consenting accounts, maybe actually you don't have to withhold at all. So that was kind of a sign of relief in one point in time for banks and funds in Switzerland saying, look, well, actually we don't have to do it, which is very costly and projects and IT change, et cetera, et cetera. And today, the whole ball game changed, and the US government came back to Switzerland saying, okay guys, fine, yes, you have this non-consenting, yes, you're going to report these non-consenting people to us, but if for some reason you cannot communicate these names, you have to withhold. So that's where the whole withholding came back into place, and actually banks today have to do it. So yes, we are getting qualitative questions from our clients coming, how can we implement this? What is the best way? What are pass-through payments? So this is another concept of withholding coming down the line in 2017. And so we're working with custodians, depositaries, etc., and different banks to try to find the best way to implement this withholding. Yeah.
Let's move on to entity accounts such as the trusts. What issues are they having? Is that similar to some of your other clients with the US source income? Are they finding that there are elements within FATCA that the trusts are finding difficult, that are similar, or are they completely separate?
It's a good question. Basically, for entity accounts, you have two big worlds. You have entities, banks, brokers, all your professional financial companies. That's pretty simple, they know what to do, they have all the infrastructure, etc. Then you have a second group, which is entities that are clients of banks, especially clients of private banks. That really applies here in Switzerland. And so you have trusts, you have PICs, private investment companies, that are basically, investment vehicles for wealthy people. That's what it is. So, of course, by choosing a certain type of FATCA classification where every single entity has to do this, when you sign up, you're going to have different obligations in terms of reporting, etc. So a lot of these different entities, trusts that you were talking about before, are actually trying to figure out, well, which is the best for me? Which is the best for my client? Because if I choose this one, well, I have to report this. And if I choose that one, actually, maybe I don't have to report so much, I can report less, which makes my life easier. Mm-hmm. So you have different types of trusts. Just to talk in terms of American terminology, you have grantor trusts and non-grantor trusts, which basically says that as a grantor trust, I set up a trust and I manage it myself, and I can decide at one point in time where to go, who to give money to. And as a non-grantor trust, I set up a trust for beneficiaries. So already you have two big categories, and there you have already two choices of classifications. And you also have the fact that a lot of trusts are being managed by professional trust companies. So this is also something that these trust companies, professional trust companies, you have quite a lot of them in Geneva, will actually have to guide their clients and choose the best classifications for their clients.
God, it's even a maze for them as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so just finally, Alexander, it's been 4 years really since this kind of came into law, if you like.
Yes.
How do you see the next step, the future of these regulations of FATCA taking place globally? Obviously not just in Switzerland, but how do you see the future of FATCA? Are we going to see it increase, these regulations increase, or are we going to see perhaps the US government saying, okay, well, thanks very much, we got what we came for, and we're going to start sort of reducing it? How do you see it looking in the near future?
So FATCA, as it is today, for me, it's going to keep on going. Obviously, it's going to take some time to settle down completely because we're still in an implementation phase. But the American government did inspire different places around the world to try to create their own little FATCAs. For example, in Europe, the US is implementing this worldwide. Maybe Europe is going to implement it in Europe, for banks to comply, to avoid different citizens of European countries to evade taxes. So, I think that unfortunately, today these regulatory changes are going to increase in the future. And with the technology that we have today, it's actually easier for governments and especially like big governments and strong economies such as the US to keep on pushing these
okay, so you think
changes.
It's here to stay then? Okay,
yeah,
well,
definitely.
Alexander, we'll have to leave it there. We run out of time, but no, interesting stuff, and I really hope that that you're providing the best advice for your clients.
We try to.
Thanks for coming into the studio today and explaining to us a little bit more about FATCA and where we stand at the moment. That's all from Dukascopy TV right now. Just keep viewing our website. We'll be bringing you more updates and interviews as we go out through the day and the week. But for now, from me, bye-bye.